Master Malcolm Jones, 8th degree. You've been in the martial arts for quite some time. Great, oh my God, a lot of experience there. 1974.
Yes.
Now, I was 4 then. That's not to add insult to injury, but I didn't see you as someone who was older than me. I thought you were about the same age as me, to be fair.
Oh, bless me.
8th degree.
Yes, sir.
You started teaching in 83.
Yes.
You founded your own classes.
How did you find all this stuff?
I dig until I find it. And turned professional. Founded your own classes in 1986 and turned professional in 1996. Can you sort of go into what the difference is between you founded your own classes and turned professional? What do you mean by turned professional?
Right. I mean full-time professional. I mean, obviously, when you're taking a class, you're getting paid for it, so you are a professional.
Right.
But full-time professional. I was working, had a family, had a young daughter, had a wife, and I would go to work. I'd trot off to work every day and then teach. And I wanted to do more teaching and more teaching, and my wife didn't want me to do more teaching. And my daughter didn't want me to do more teaching because I wanted to spend, they wanted me to spend time with them. So I was teaching all the time because that's my passion. That's what I like to do. But I did that for 10 years.
Right.
And then it came a time where unfortunately my marriage ended. I thought, right, and it was due to the martial art training or the martial art teaching.
Yes.
It's a bit of a breaker.
Yeah, I think
there's a lot of people.
I was going to say, I think it's probably a common theme. Well, certainly it was for me anyway. Yeah, martial arts did take, I'll say it, priority.
Yes.
Because you've got this belief that it's going to work and it's going to support you all.
Yes.
And because you love it so much.
Yes. I was in a job. I was working at the airport in Bournemouth. I was a plane sprayer actually. And there came an opportunity to move to, well, not move, I didn't move, but the job opportunity came up in Salisbury, and I knew that place was going to be shut down. So I deliberately took that, knowing that I would be made redundant, and that would feed into this. So it was a bit sneaky, really. I was a bit sneaky, it was a bit naughty. And my ex-wife didn't like that very much.
So you went professional.
Yes, and that's what I deem as fully professional. And I remember driving to work on that morning or on that evening, or driving. I call it work. I was driving to class, thinking, actually, I'm not sure if this is a great idea because people are paying me, and I do my taxes and my insurance and my pension, and now that's gone. Right. So now I'm going to the class thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to get paid? It's a tough one.
Big leap.
It's a tough one, yeah. Everyone dreams about it, but then when the reality hits you, which it did on the A31 going to Southampton at 6 o'clock at night, thinking, oh my God, the wife was right. How am I going to provide for my family?
What have I done?
Yeah. But I did.
So for any, there's going to be students listening to this and they maybe have their dreams set and open a school for themselves. What do you think they should do before they get to that stage of taking classes and going professional?
That's a really good question. A friend of mine, well, I said friend of mine, he's a student. He's a brilliant martial artist. He's a kickboxer. His name's Sam Norse. I kept saying to him all the time, Sam, you need to teach. You've got to teach. You've got everything that a good instructor has. You've got empathy, you've got skills, you can talk, you've got education, you know to teach the right things and how to teach it, and people will warm to you. Oh, I can't, sir, I can't. It's too, and he kept putting barriers in front of it all the time. And I kept saying, you just got to make that one step. Oh no, I can't. And even to the point, I said, listen, I'll fund you. I'll give you X amount of money and pay it back. You pay it back. No, I can't. I said, sir, honestly, you're a brilliant instructor. You should go and do it. And of course now, 5 years later, he's done it and he's thriving and he's flying. So in answer to how I think people have got to follow their dreams. but they do need to have some sort of a financial backup. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. You can't just go out on a limb because you're letting other people down. You know, if you start a class and people get used to you, they're going to want to, you know, have you come once, twice, or 3 times a week, and then all of a sudden you go, actually, well, you know, do you know what?
It's not for me.
Yeah, it isn't for me because the mortgage has gone up and I can't afford to do it anymore. Sorry. You're letting people down. So I would say make sure you have some sort of financial stability, for want of a better word. I mean, you don't have to be a millionaire, of course, but you need to have something to fall back on, and then try and do your research. Get some village halls. A great place to go is like a little church hall or a village hall or something. You don't go to big schools because they're going to charge a lot of money. Any council-owned property is going to be very expensive. So go to something like a little. My most popular classes are in villages. Because you know, here I live in Bournemouth. It's a decent sized class, but the biggest one is a tiny little village. It's amazing.
They've maybe not putting it down, but they maybe got limited things going on.
Yes,
so
exactly.
You're
yes,
giving it to them.
You know, here, I mean, goodness, there are so many martial arts schools. You know, all full time, all with their own venues, and they're all lovely matted venues and fantastic. So there's a lot of competition. Whereas, as you say, if you go to a village, you know, there's nothing. And I get people that come from Bournemouth and go to the village class because it's a nicer vibe. It's nice, you know. Everyone in Bournemouth, it's a great class, but it's a different vibe. It's different. So yeah.
I think I had that when I started. It was the classic: open as many as you can, go to everywhere all the time, and then grow the ones that are successful. But it was, I remember a village called Rotherwick in Hampshire, just outside Basingstoke, and that popped up. There were 30 people in the class. It was just there was there was nothing else, but for the kids especially, it was just something new and exciting, and they all jumped on it.
Absolutely.
But going to the kids thing, we talked about this earlier. Predominantly kids in my classes. How do you find the balance in? Because you are more an adult.
Yes. I have one kids class, and that's it's kickboxing. I have children that come to my taekwondo class, but it's a family class, so there are adults in there as well. And that works quite nicely because the kids are like maniacs running around creating hell, and the adults are fairly straightforward. And you know, some families, there's mums and dads with their kids. But the kids ones, I spoke to you earlier. I struggle with it. Because I want them to be little soldiers, and I understand that they want to have fun, of course, and that's what they do. You know, we'll play a game, play Stuck in the Mud last night, and then our favourite one is Hide the Keys.
Hide the Keys.
Oh yes, you've got to play Hide the Keys. It's like when you're a kid. Oh, Mum, I want to play hide and seek. Oh, okay, now off you go then. And an hour later, you've been hiding away, and Mum's been on the phone and what have you. But it's the same with Hide the Keys. Kids absolutely adore it. So they all go out into the corridor, and one of the kids has my set of keys, and then they have to hide them. And the kids come in. It's brilliant. It's better than TV. You know, you got 20 minutes, kids running around, go, oh, it's here, all over the place.
They're all communicating and working together.
Yeah, of course.
Competing as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's great fun.
Using their imagination.
It's great fun. But then it comes to grading time and they have to learn martial arts, and you think, oh, actually.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The keys.
Yeah, of course. And that's what I struggle with, if I'm honest. I struggle with that balance between having fun and learning martial arts, because predominantly I'm a martial art teacher.
Yeah.
I understand the kids need to have fun, of course.
But you sounds like you enjoy that as well. You enjoy messing around, having fun as well.
Yeah. So, I'm a big kid. Yeah, I've always been a big kid. Always been a big kid. I do it with the adults. I mess around all the time. I don't take myself seriously at all. No. Obviously, when I'm a Gemini, so I've got 2 personalities, so I can flick like that.
Serious one on.
Yeah, if I've got serious head on today, the kids still try and push it. They'll try to push it. Oh, sir, can we? No, you do that. Oh, but so. Yeah. It's a tough one.
Sounds like a good environment. They're learning. They are learning. They're having fun at the same time.
Absolutely.
We're going to come on to things later on. We haven't even started the proper questions. We went off on a tangent there. But things like the self-defense aspect of it, that's later on. You coached world and European champions.
Yes.
So how did you spot them as potential champions?
Good question. Great question. One was the one I tell a story about all the time. This was back when I was in the TGB. There was a young lady, she was 13 years old, and her parents brought her along. He was her mum actually, brought her along. This was early 90s. And I said to her mum, I said, listen, you need to take your daughter to the tournaments because she's going to be really, really good. Because I can spot it it's probably the same as yourself, so you can spot talent a mile away. And she had all the attributes. She had focus. She wasn't the most flexible person in the world, and she didn't become the most flexible person in the world, but she had that mindset. She had that, I want to compete. I want to do well. She was never big-headed. So I said, right, you need to go to all the tournaments. And in those days, TGB had, goodness knows, 8 or 9 tournaments, probably 10 tournaments a year. And we went to everyone. She got knocked out of everything first round. She didn't win a single fight or a pattern thing or breaking or anything like that. She didn't win a thing. She kept coming back and she was a bit disappointed. I said, Mum, listen, keep going. And her mum was going, but I'm paying out money. I said, listen, trust me, she's going to do really, really well. Second year, same thing. Same 8 tournaments, nothing. Third year, she was obviously losing interest. Yeah. And I said, right, I promise you have to keep going. So she started to win a few rounds. She didn't win any medals, but a few rounds. She got through the first couple of rounds of sparring, first couple of rounds of patterns, and she started to do well. By that time, she'd graded, so she was doing breaking. She started to break, didn't win, but she started to break. 4th year, she started to win everything. She won virtually, I think she entered 8 tournaments and she won everything out of all of them. 5th year onwards, she was undefeated, and for the next 6 years, I think she was totally undefeated. In sparring, pattern, destruction, high kick, the whole lot, because she had that mindset, and I could see it a mile off. So I think it's important for people to stick with it, and particularly parents, because kids will give up at the drop of a hat. Yeah, and change interests. Yeah. Motivated by it's sunny today. Oh, I'll go. It's changed. So it's different. Or the latest films out, or the latest trainers are out. I want them. I want the uniform. I want a dobot. Oh, we got a dobot. Oh, I don't want it anymore. It's terrible, isn't it? Because kids will just, it's a throwaway society. But if they stick to it, it's a great thing for them to do. And she went on to become 6-time world taekwondo champion. Fantastic. You gonna drop her name in? Well, she's no longer with me anymore. I mean, she was in the TGB. Her name was Rebecca Riggs. Well done, Rebecca Riggs. Yeah, she went on. She was a gladiator. Well, I don't think she was a gladiator, but she went on the gladiators. She actually went on there's a thing back in Sky, but in the early noughties, Sky TV show in Japan or in China. Oh. And she was one of the teachers. The teachers on the show? Yeah. I don't know what the show was called, but the few... Yeah, I can't have to remember the name of that show, but she was on that. It was like a 10-week series. Oh, well, if you got open Google and try and find... Yeah. And then the others... There's one young lady, again, very similar, and she's still competing now. She lives up in Liverpool. And she competes. Her name's Emily White, and she's just been given the European title for ITF Union. I can't remember that was Spain, I think it was, right. In patterns. And again, she was one of those really shy, very quiet, nervous people. And I remember her from her first... Her mum still trains with me, bless her. And Emily will train when she comes down here, but obviously she's in Liverpool. But it gave her a great foundation for her to compete. Then there's one of the other guys who was an incredible guy. He's now in Cornwall, Ryan Simpson, one of the most gifted athletes I've ever seen in my life. Incredible technician. Sparring, he could stand as close as, from here to you, and he'd kick you in the head. He went on to WTF. He did some WTF stuff or some WT stuff. But he was a fantastic fighter. Incredible. Big loss because he went on the WT program.
Right.
And was badly treated, I think. They wanted him to go up in weights because there was too many at his weight category.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan was like a product of God. He was like a very he studied nutrition. That's what he did at uni. So there was no way he was going to put on that weight just to satisfy them.
No.
So he got shafted a little bit, really, which is a shame. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of them around. Mm-hmm. Emily's the current European champion. So yeah.
I'll shout out to all of them.
Ah.
We'll have to put a little note and make sure that they get to hear their name being mentioned on this podcast.
Oh, bless them.
That'd be lovely. Now the questions are going to start.
Okay.
Well, it was good that we've diverted a little bit. There's some interesting.
I hope I don't waffle too much for you.
Well, no, we need it because I'm not sure how interesting these questions will be for everybody. The basic one is, how did you first get interested in martial arts, or who inspired you?
Okay, I come from a very strict family. My father passed away, unfortunately, some time ago. But my mum and my dad back in the 70s wouldn't let me do any martial arts. I kept badgering them to do it. Oh, Mum, can I go? No, can't, no. And so obviously being the good lad that I was, even though I wasn't, because I was a little cheeky little sod. It came to my birthday on 14th of June, 1974, and so I trotted along to the judo club and loved it. I can even remember where it was, St John's Church Hall in Yeovil in Somerset. That's where my judo club was, and I loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. And in those days that we just graded, you didn't grade as it is now every 3 months. It was all on fighting. You fought. It wasn't a grading syllabus. It was just if you could beat people. And if you could beat people who were high grade than you, you would get double, triple graded. So in judo, I think I only had 2 grades, and I got to 1 grade down from a black belt in 2 grades because I just beat people. Not because I was an aggressive person, no. But I took to it like fish to the water. I just loved it. I really was fascinated by it, and I'd always wanted to do it. And I wanted to do it not because everyone says it's Bruce Lee. It wasn't because of Bruce Lee. It was David Carradine.
Oh,
it was kung fu.
Funny enough, David Carradine was a bit of a wanderer.
Yes, he was indeed.
Is kind of where this has come from, but no, that was a secondary thought. The Wandering Warrior. Yes. But yeah, David Carradine.
I used to watch that because I didn't know who Bruce Lee was.
No.
Obviously, he passed away a year before, unbeknown to me. I was a 13-year-old kid, and there was no internet in those days, and nobody knew who Bruce Lee was.
No.
But Kung Fu was on TV, so that was my exposure.
What I understood from the series Kung Fu, it was actually a concept of Bruce Lee.
Yes, it was.
And the studio took it off and gave it to Carradine. Yeah,
because he was because Bruce Lee was too Asian.
Yeah. And then he made David Carradine look Asian.
That's right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's exactly what happened. I mean, I say it's exactly what happened. I was never fortunate enough to meet Bruce Lee, but he that's the thing. He was too Asian for the American world, which is shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shocking. And probably the most iconic film star, not just martial art film star, but film star per se. That's been an incredible persona and character.
driving force. So,
Oh my goodness.
the fact that they kept him off the screen was maybe not a good thing, but we became ready for him in '73 or whenever we got to see Enter the Dragon and whatnot.
Yes.
Big Boss and things like that. So,
Yes.
Yeah, it was later on when I think it was Channel 4, good old Channel 4, when they took the nunchaka scenes out and they were allowed to show.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Even
Absolutely.
with the triangle, the nunchaka scenes that had been taken out, the triangle was put up in the top left corner, I think it was, and they showed Enter the Dragon, whatever year that was.
But going back to the David Carradine thing, I loved the philosophy. I loved that, and it was different. In the UK then, I mean, in my hometown, there were no martial arts. There was a karate club which I joined later, and judo, and that was it. Probably in the whole of Somerset, there wasn't that many.
No.
There wasn't that many classes then. And kids, I was the youngest, 13, I was the youngest. They didn't have, like now, they're 2 and 3 years old.
Yes.
But I loved the philosophy. I didn't know about Bruce Lee then. I didn't know that David Carradine had nicked his role. I didn't know that.
No, we just
I just loved the thought of somebody knowing all this stuff but not ever doing it, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, doing it when it was necessary,
Yes,
but not
yes,
promoting it.
yes.
Like, yeah.
And I was, when I was a kid, I was afraid of my own shadow. I was like petrified, and people at school in those days, nobody did martial arts, and I would be bullied horrendously. And I didn't learn martial arts because I was being bullied. I just wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it. But when kids found out, they'd still pick on me, and I'd still take it, until one kid picked on me, chucked him over my shoulder, and nobody ever picked on me again. So.
Lesson to be learned.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's not. It's not. I'm not fantastically proud of it. And I broke the school desk as well, which is a shame. He landed on the desk and broke the desk in two. And all the kids go, "Oh wow, this is amazing! Look at that! Oh my God, let's stand behind Mount now because he's a martial art guy."
Had to be done.
Yes, indeed. So that's how I first got into it.
The next question is about your club. How did you come round to starting, or what inspired you to start your own martial arts club?
Ooh, crikey. No, that's going to open a can of worms. If you look on my website, there's a blog in there because I'm apparently told that that's what you're supposed to do. I did it, yeah. But it says, who are my 5 favourite instructors? And I've listed some of them. And one of them, I said, my earliest and perhaps most influential instructor was my original taekwondo instructor. His name was Mike Witt. And he hated me. He hated me with a passion because I'd done judo, I'd done karate. It was
not pure blood.
Yeah. And I came to him in the early 80s. And he absolutely detested me, and he was a aggressive guy then. He's not now. He's changed his whole methodology. I wish I could meet him now to thank him for what he did for me. But he would beat me with a stick. He'd call me all sorts of names. He'd say that I'm wasting my time. All the other students, he'd get praise. They'd all get praise. All the female students would get probably a little bit more praise. But he'd be on at me all the time. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. And that was horrible at the time. But getting through it was the best thing I've ever done. And he's taught me that him and my father were exactly the same. I mean, my father never beat me, but my father would never take me anywhere. If I wanted to play rugby or cricket, because I was quite good at cricket when I was a kid, I had to get there under my own steam. And of course, 13, 12-year-old kid, I'd walk. My dad would never he'd never take me unless he was a top class rugby referee. So if he was involved in it, I could go with him. But if he wasn't involved, I had to make my own way there. Sometimes I used to walk like 5 miles to go and play cricket or rugby or whatever. And it taught me the value of, if I want something, if somebody wants something, then they need to work hard for it, and it's not going to be given to them on a plate. And I think that's lost in society these days. I think that's kind of gone.
Yeah, there's almost an expectation to receive.
Yes.
With very little effort.
Yes.
In some people.
And I tell these stories to the kids and the adults. You know, that his class, Mike's class, was in a venue about 20 miles away from where I was. Didn't have a car. I used to cycle there Monday and Wednesday every I did it for a year and a half until I could get a car. Wind, rain, snow, ice, sleet, freezing cold. Just cycle there. Train for 2 hours. He'd abuse me, and then cycle home, and do it time and time again. Lap it up. And it got to the point where he told me, which was really, really nice of him. He told me once I received my black belt, he said, "You're the best person I've ever taught." Because he could, I don't know whether he could see something in me. I don't know, but that you know,
it's almost
was
like
nice.
There are films like that. There are movies like that where there is one person and they just get treated like crap right the way through, but the person who's doing that to them, I don't know how to say this, is seeing something in them and trying to bring it out or make it stronger, or testing, not to be nasty, but to push them to be better than they think they can be.
Yes.
It's not a reason for instructors to treat their students like cack, though.
No, of course not. Of course not.
There are methods, but that was the method back in the days. It's like what the army do. The army do it.
Well, it's funny because a couple of that gentleman, that Sam Norse that I mentioned before, when he first started with me, him and his father started training, and the first thing they said, "Were you in the army or the navy?" I said, "I was never in any of them." "Oh my God, we thought you were in the military." Because of that level of,
I've had that as well,
of discipline. Whether it came from my father, because my father was in the navy, I'm not sure. I think it came from Mike Witt. I think it came from Mike and my dad. Yeah. The fact that if you want something, you have to work for it. And I still do that now. I still do it with all my kids, all my adults. Then they're not given an easy ride. Obviously, when they first start, you have to, you can't be aggressive to someone straight away. Only, but 10 minutes later you can. No, okay. A few months down the line, you can start to introduce the fact that if they're not prepared to work hard, I'm not prepared to teach them. If they want to work hard, I will teach them all the way. And the more aggressive I am with them, the more I love them isn't the right word, but the more I think they're doing great. If I'm nice to them, that means they're not working hard enough. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I get that side of it as well. I think teaching someone who wants to be there to just go through the motions, well done, that's good.
Yes.
And then someone who wants to work really hard, you have a switch that you're still nice to them, but you are pushing them that bit harder. Or you're pushing everybody, but the ones that want to work hard are responding and working hard.
Yes, absolutely.
But being nice to those that are just there for the chance to get out of the house.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So I've forgotten what the initial question was, but
it was about starting your own martial arts club. What was the inspiration for it? Yeah,
so it was really to pass on what my instructor had taught me. And there's no secret that I think I'm a better instructor than I was a student, or I am a student, and definitely as a competitor. I did okay. I did all right. I won a few medals, won a few trophies. I did okay, but I was never world class. I fought people like Tony Saul, and crikey, those guys, he was like chicken fodder for me. For him, for him, an incredible athlete. I don't know if you ever met him, but
no,
he was like 6'4", 16 stone, and he's the only person I've ever seen could jump up in the air break a turning kick, break a turning kick, break a turning kick, and land on the floor. Incredible athlete for a big man. I've never seen anything like it. Into the point of in the THB when they used to call out people's names. You know, it was the black belt division, and they'd call out Tony Saul, and everyone would just, you know, to get a glimpse of him. He was an incredible machine.
And the person who's waiting for their name, is shrunk in the corner. Oh no!
Absolutely. So I was okay, but I was always quite gifted when it came to teaching. Always produced good people, and hope I still do. And you know, even if I inspire someone to be a better version of themselves, then I'm happy. I'm happy with that. So that's why I started it.
What do you do, or how would you describe your role? Instructor, coach, teacher, mentor,
teacher,
or teacher.
Right. Yeah. I'm quite big on this. I had a black belt training session, and I wanted to farm it out isn't the right word, but I wanted to pass on to some of my other instructors. I've got a 7th degree. I've got a 7th degree coming up. Someone coming up for 7th degree next year, and I wanted them to teach. You know, because it's just me all the time. It's like, it gets a bit boring. Obviously, I'm not boring, but it gets same old. And I was a little bit disappointed, if I'm honest. Not because they didn't come up to the expectation that I thought they would, but they just instructed. And I'm going, right, I'm sitting here watching, and I'm thinking, but those people haven't been taught anything. You're just saying, right, I want you to do Poan. I want you to do Gebek. I want you to do Kwange. But teach them. And I said, no, right, we shouldn't be called instructors. We should be called teachers. I want you to teach. This is how you do this. This is why you do this. This is how you do that. Not just do it. You know, so I can understand why people do that, because that's what you do in the army. You know, it's a PTI in the army, right? Let's do 20 burpees, off you go. But what's the mechanics of a burpee? How do you do, you know, so that people can be educated? So my big thing is education. And if people don't have education, then to me, they shouldn't be teaching. You know, that for me is what makes a good instructor. I know that it's the term instructor.
Yeah, it's the title.
But it should be teacher, in my humble opinion. Because otherwise, you're just doing stuff parrot fashion. You're not learning anything.
And then you get AI to do it then.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same.
New business for someone, an AI instructor.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
How much does this role of teacher overflow into everyday life, or is it you are you throughout, or are you like a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, David Hulk kind of? Oh, sorry, Bruce Hulk. Bruce David Carradine. I had David Carradine in my head, but Bruce and Hulk and Jekyll and Hyde. You uniform on. Now it's time.
Yes. Yeah. I like to keep say to kids all the time about the etiquette and the courtesy. I like to keep that. I think we were in Sainsbury's earlier. Didn't say to that lady, right, I want this, I want that, right, but you're serving me. You know, I'm very polite, always have been, and I think that's really important. So from that point of view, that carries over, but everything else I switch off from it, because I think you can get, just 24/7 martial arts. It's just too much. I like laughing. I love to laugh, so watch some TV or listen to an old anything that makes me giggle, or a film or something. But I can't be doing it all the time. I do like, obviously here, I mean, we're going to go in the gym later, but I do like doing one-to-ones with people. I find that really really enjoyable. It's not that I don't like the classes. I like the classes, but I can really get to grips with people on a one-to-one. Really try to input, and they want to be there. Clearly, you know, they're paying good money to come, so I want to give them everything. But yeah, as soon as it's done, I watch the rugby, or well, I don't want to watch it this year because it's been embarrassing. But I like to step away from it, but not for too long. I think I retired once for 5 days. Back in 1980. This was when my wife was saying, "You're doing too much. You're doing too much." Okay, I'll retire, darling. Okay. 5 days it lasted, and then that was it. Yeah. so I would get bored. I know I'd get bored if I wasn't teaching.
Yeah. Itchy feet, twiddly thumbs.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I'm no good at anything else.
No, I keep asking myself that. What am I good at? And there's the IT to fall back on, and programming and stuff like that. But I left it for a reason. Why would I go back to it?
I like being artistic. I'm quite an arty person, but I'd get bored if I had to bloody paint things and just draw a daffodil. Okay, yeah, I've drawn the daffodil now. I'm bored of that. I don't want to do that. I often say to people, if you want me to come paint your house, I'll do that. I really enjoy that. I paint in here, and a lot of people like my thingy. And they go, "Wow, that's really good. So who did that?" I said, "Oh, I did it." They go, "What, really?" I said, "Yeah. Wow, it's really good." So I like that, and that's kind of escape. I can escape, but then I have to go to work and I have to go teach, and then you have to get the kids who pulling, "Oh, sir, will you do this? Sir, will you do that?" Oh, good. Bless. But then there's a couple of people I know have just started teaching, and one of them had their first junior black belt. Not proper black belt, but junior black belt, and she's so proud that, and the feeling you get, and as you know, sir, the feeling you get from seeing people achieve something, there's nothing beats it.
Yeah,
the
little ones.
It's incredible.
The tigers, and the tigers don't get belts as such. They're just getting stickers and certificates, but they're jumping up and down with glee, and they've done some things to earn it. So yeah, there's definitely.
And it was interesting what you said before when you said the F word, when you said that you fail people if they don't do it.
I wondered where you were going there. But
no. But you see, a lot of people these days don't know what the F word is, which is sad.
You've probably touched on this already, but memorable experience or success stories from your journey as a martial arts instructor. We've talked about your champions, but what other memorable experiences or successes?
There's a lot. I think that we could be here all day. Probably in taekwondo terms was meeting General Choi. I was in a group at the time, Professional Unification of Martial Arts, and it was the last time that General Choi came to the UK, and we just left the TGB. We just left, and Puma started, and I was a founder member of it, along with Ray Gale, Mark Ogborn, and Chris Wood and Nick Bale. So we were the 5 directors. And September the 9th, 2000, Master Gale and Master Ogborn went to pick him up from Heathrow and brought him over to Weymouth. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my God. And I was going to grade to 5th degree under him. Ray Gale was going to grade to 6th degree under him. And that was an incredible experience. And to grade under him was amazing, because we'd literally just come from the TGB, didn't have a clue, didn't have a Scooby-Doo. He said, "Why are you all doing karate? What's going on?" And I picked him up in the hotel, and we came to the venue, and Friday morning we just did sitting stance and middle punch. That's all we did for 2 hours. And he said, well, why is everyone doing karate? And we thought, oh my God, here we go. What the hell have we done? Left the THB. Oh my God. And we were quite comfortable in the THB. And then we've gone into this whole new universe. And he said, stop doing that. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing it wrong? Oh, sir, sorry. The group that we were with, this is how they did it. Why do they do it like that? Obviously there's a long story to that, but that was phenomenal. I remember the day of the grading. The grading was on the Sunday, and I remember doing the testing, and we had to break, and they didn't bring him any wood. He didn't bring him any wood, so he said, okay. He said to one of his, I can't remember who it was. What's the guy that used to go with him? Tom McCallum. Yeah. And he said, right, where's the wood? Oh, sir, we haven't got any wood. Okay, right, okay. If you give me that piece of paper. And he said, right, I want to break that piece of paper. And everyone's looking at it and going, what? I want to break that piece of paper. And he just held it up like that. And luckily I broke it. And everyone, because everyone was hitting it and it was just flopping around. He said, this man knows taekwondo. He said, oh, wow, great, this is fantastic. So I remember that was my breaking, was A4 sheet of paper. But he said, if you can break a piece of paper, you can break a piece of wood.
I've done that in the class.
Yeah.
I've taken a piece of paper up. I can't remember where I heard that story. It might have been from that. I don't know how many times he's done it, but I put piece of paper up in front of students and said, right, break that. And they do look at you. Say, huh? And then they try and they go, oh, I can't do it. There's method.
There's that. There's all sorts. Goodness. I remember when I first went to America and learnt adrenal stress training. That was a big eye opener for me. And the person out there, there's a guy in the UK called Jeff Thompson. Have you heard of Jeff Thompson? He's a pioneer of UK self-protection. Well, he was he was doorman in the 80s and 90s in Coventry. Well, the predecessor of him in America was a guy called Peyton Quinn, who did exactly the same, but he did it in the 60s and 70s. In the flower power and the hippies and stuff. And he was a nutcase. But a nice nutcase. I remember him, that was a very memorable time. I've still got videos of it somewhere. It's really funny. It was like the old Bond film where he'd sit there, he had a white cat, and he had I swear to God, he had a fluffy white cat, and he'd sit there and he'd be... excuse me, and we were videoing it, and I was just giggling because I was thinking it was like Mr. Bond. Somebody's going to come out in a minute with a thingy. But he was an incredible guy. He was batty as a fruitcake, nutty as a fruitcake, but he knew his stuff. So he has really influenced. But I would say General Choi was probably the number one thing. Yeah.
And the founder.
Yes.
Do you incorporate spiritual aspects of martial arts into your teaching? And if so, why do you think they're important?
When you say spirit, what do you?
When
you say spiritual, what define spiritual?
Well, it's more what you think spiritual is. I'm interested, but
let's play side to side.
But if you picture like the Buddhist side of things, maybe sat meditation. The earth, the elements, bringing all that side. There's not religion to us, but the universe around us and energy from. How does that fit in with your teaching? Do you meditate? That's probably a good one.
I don't really get involved in that sort of side of stuff. It's not to belittle it at all, because obviously some people find that very relevant and extremely invigorating. It's not really for me, personally. When you said the word spirit, because indomitable spirit, that's a different thing. But no, spirituality doesn't really, it doesn't really manifest itself in my classes or within me as such. I'm afraid. Sorry, it's
That's
a bit boring.
It's not. It's your preference. It's what you teach and what you don't teach.
Yes,
that's what I'm interested in. The listeners as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
What are some ways martial arts can help people build confidence and reach? I've changed the sentence. Reach a greater level, because the phrase usually is reach their full potential, but we don't want to. I suppose at their time we want them to reach that full potential, but the potential will then increase. We hope so. Reach a greater level, meaning full potential at the point.
Yeah, I would say that's a huge thing. That's a big thing. I mean, a lot of people. I know we're going to talk about it later with self-defense and stuff, and said everyone learns martial arts because you learn how to defend yourself. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but the confidence that people get, yes, massively, and I think I touched on it earlier. To see some of these kids and adults improve themselves. There's a young lady that started training with me and she's doing kickboxing, and she's ordered she ordered her t-shirt, and unfortunately for her it's a little bit too tight at the moment, and it's the biggest t-shirt we've got, and she said, "Sir, have you got any bigger ones?" I said, "No, I haven't, I'm afraid. And she said, "Oh, that's fine, because I've already lost 1.5 stone." And I said, "Oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness. And is that just with martial arts?" She said, "Yeah, and her daughter does it too with one of my instructors who teaches in a different way, but that's a different thing." But to see her confidence grow because she's losing a little bit of weight, and this is genuine confidence, she's changing. She would never say boo to a goose. She'd never do this. And I was the same. I'm very, very shy person. Very incredibly shy. People are shocked when they see me teach, because I'm the complete opposite. It's like I'm an actor, but you see me in like a party or a social gathering, that's the real me.
In the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm always in the kitchen at parties. Yeah, you remember
That's
it.
me.
Yeah, I'm very, very quiet. Other people are more important than me. I like listening to people, but I don't really like talking. I like to listen, and that's exactly the same. But when you're building other people's confidence, I love it. I love that their stature, particularly kids, obviously, because you can see it. It's more noticeable in a child. You see them when they come in the first 5 years old. And they're very mild and meek, and then they get to 15, 16, 17, and then they've developed into this incredible young woman or man or whatever. And I find that incredibly rewarding, to see how people, they might not be able to be the greatest puncher in the world, the greatest kicker in the world. They might not win any tournaments. They might fail a couple of gradings, but their overall confidence is gone 1,000% more, and I think that's amazing. And I think that's the number one thing that martial art instructors offer people is confidence. I think it's incredible. How you do that, I don't know. Because I'm not very good at false praising. I don't like the idea of praising someone just because it sounds good. Well done when it was a ball, when it was a bag of nails. I don't see the point in saying well done if it was a bag of nails. It's just to me it's totally counterproductive. Yeah. So I say, okay, listen, if you can't do it that way, let's try it. If we try this way, brilliant, well done, that's it. Okay, and try that, and just and there's more than two ways to skin a cat, as they say. So I like that idea of not everyone gets more confident the same way.
No, at the same time, the same way.
Yes,
people work different.
Yes,
and there's the teaching and learning. We can teach different ways, and they learn different ways.
Yes.
So It's not a good all-rounder.
You're right.
Right. What advice would you give to someone who's starting their martial arts journey? So we've got someone who's listening to this podcast and they're thinking about it, or they've got someone in their family, because these might be martial artists that are listening. And do I put my son or daughter into the class, or shall I get my husband or wife or partner to go and do the martial arts?
Well, we're obviously going to say yes, aren't I? You know, I'm going to say whether it's my martial art class or your martial art class or anybody's martial art class, it doesn't matter. So someone's put in a great post recently, I don't know if you've seen it on social media, that they're trying to get it back onto the school curriculum.
That's the last question.
Oh right,
no,
okay, all right,
going,
okay.
Keep going.
But you know, yeah, I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Now. But no, it's okay. That's all right. So what was the question
again? Someone who's starting their martial arts journey.
Yes. So I would encourage them to do it. Okay, I've recently taken on a father and son, and they're doing taekwondo in Bournemouth. And a lovely guy, and older son. I think Dermot is, what is he? He's in his late 40s, and this boy Woody is probably about 13. And they've only had 2 classes, and they've but they're loving it. I mean, they're loving it, and I've been myself. I haven't given them any false hopes. I've been quite strict with them, but been encouraging, but strict, but encouraging, but strict. And I think they're keepers. I think they're going to be keepers. And if people can see past that first little bit of a little bit of a shock to the system, depending on who you know, the instructor might be some sort of head case. You know, but even the head cases, if it's a head case instructor, they shouldn't have that many people in the class. So that's a bit of a no-brainer for parents or if you're coming on to watch. But you can normally tell the quality of the instructor by the student. You know, if it's a fun, family-friendly place, then it's a good environment for people to do exercise in. And again, you know, people say, well, why can't I just do Pilates? Well, of course you can do Pilates, or yoga, or all fantastic things. But martial arts is a completely unique thing, in my humble opinion. Whether it's the taekwondo that we do, or kickboxing, or judo, or ninjutsu, or whatever it is, they're fantastic things because it's more than just exercise. You know, there's mental fortitude, there's determination, there's learning to take the hits, and I don't mean that physically, but as you say, with the F word, you know, you know, and you don't get that in that many things that people can do these days. So I think everyone should do martial arts. I think the world would be a nicer place. I say this all the time. If everybody in the world did martial arts and did it properly, I don't think there'd be the crap that goes on in the world today, because people would treat each other with much more respect.
That's it. Fundamentals, isn't it?
Yes.
Respect.
Yes.
How do you keep students motivated and engaged in their training?
Play hide the keys. I like to have fun with them. I don't like doing the same thing week in, week out. Boring as hell. When I first did WT back in 1980, the instructor would come along. There's nothing wrong with WT, by the way. But the instructor would come along, and this was in Southampton, every Sunday, and we knew exactly what we were going to do and exactly when we were going to do it, and then we went home. And we did that for like 12 weeks. It was exactly the same thing. And I got bored. I didn't get bored because I enjoyed it, because I wanted to do martial arts. So I was a lifer. I wanted to do it, and I would have, if the guy had said, right, you've got to stand in the dustbin for 2 hours, then I stood in the dustbin for 2 hours. Because that's the type of person I am. If somebody tells me to do something, I'll do it. But yeah, it was just monotonous. It was the same old. Now, of course, you have to have repetition. Of course, you do. Yeah. And especially in taekwondo, because it's a lifelong martial art. It's not a straight out the can thing. You know, so you're going to be doing your chunji and you're going to do that all the time, week in, week out, week in, week out. Oh my God, I've got to do it again. I've got to do it again. But that's part and parcel of what it is. I try and keep it different. Obviously, if there's a grading coming up or if there's a tournament, then you need to focus on certain aspects. But I like to keep it fresh all the time and like to come up with new ideas. I don't get to train as much as I used to because of my back condition. It kind of limits my training, which is a shame because I used to get so many different ideas of other instructors, and that's partly why I wanted the black belt classes, so I could nick ideas off of my instructors. I got one off the kickboxing guy, and that was great. Oh, it was brilliant, loved it. So I like to steal things because I've got a lot of things that I can draw on, but I'm terrible for. I overthink things. I think, oh my God, they must be so bored because I did that 5 years ago, and they must remember that. Do you know what I mean? So I like to do things that are fun and fresh and exciting, as well as the boring stuff, which never is boring, of course.
The syllabus stuff.
Yes.
The required syllabus.
Yes. But again, I do the. I had it in the kickboxing class last night. I do the human wall drill, which we can maybe go over a little bit later. It's ideal if you've got 2 or 3, but it's a bit of fun, but it's quite aggressive fun. And everybody loved it. And I was thinking, oh, this is going to work because there's some ladies who are maybe not quite so aggressive as the big fellas, but the ladies got stuck in, and I was thinking, wow, this is great. I'll do this all day long. So it's just like legal violence, really. But it was brilliant. So I like to mix it up. Yeah.
Can you share any tips for balancing physical training with mental and emotional well-being? The emotional side of stuff is very important, obviously. Am I good at it? I don't know if I am. I get criticised because I'm because I'm a Gemini. I'm either one or the other. I'm not in the middle. I either go too hard or I go too soft. I was telling you a story. I'm going to tell you a story in it's probably going off topic a little bit, but it's the first time I've ever done this, and I don't feel proud of it at all. But not the last grading, but the grading before Christmas time, I was in a really bad mood because the taekwondo examiner was late, and he's one of my students, and because it's a really tight schedule, and so it meant that the kickboxing was late, and there was a huge kickboxing grading, and there was a load of beginners turn up, and this group of kids, there must have been 12, 13, and I thought to myself, right, should I get them on first, because then they can get over and done with, or should I get the adults to do it first and then they can watch the adults and see how it is? In hindsight, maybe I should have done it the other way, but I didn't. I thought, right, I'll get them over and done with first. And we got to press up position, and I said to I was at the table and they were like 20 meters away on the floor, and I said, press ups. I thought, oh God, here we go. And I was already in a bad mood. I said, right, you need to do 10 press ups. You need to do 10 press ups, please. Struggling at the thought of it.
Please tell me you can do 10 press ups. And everyone else kind of did it with a bit of, and this one lad went on his knees. I said, sir, you can't do it on your knees, sir. Sorry, but no. And so you need to try again. Sorry, I'm labouring the point. And he went on his knees. I said, "Sir, you can't do it on your knees." And stupidly, and I shouldn't have said it, and I apologised to his parents later, or to his mother later. I said, "Sir, is there a medical reason why you cannot do press-ups?" Which I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have said that in front of everybody. It was the wrong thing to do, and openly. And I've never done it before, and I'll never do it again. But I was in such a bad mood. And his press-ups were crap. And then it all kicked off from that moment. But the point I'm trying to make is his emotion. His emotional state. Oh, I can't do it. It's all too hard. Oh my god. So I either go one or the other. I'm not very good at being in the center. Mm-hmm. I'm either too aggressive or I'm too soft. Oh, it's okay. That's right. It's okay. You don't have to do them on your knees, but I would like you to try a little bit harder. Oh, for goodness sake. Just get off your ass and do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm not very good at that type of stuff. Having said that, there was about 15 years ago, about 15 years ago, somebody rang me up and they'd had a very bad sexual experience. I'm not going to mention what it was on here, but they were traumatized. They hadn't left their house for like months. Mm. And I said, okay, I was very sympathetic and very empathetic. And would you like to come along to a class? If I can get you to do a class, I think it would really benefit you. Because it's not just a physical class, it's an emotional content. And she said, yeah, of course. And I said, well, listen, you need to bring someone with you who you trust. And it's in London, so you're going to have to travel 2 hours to get there, 2 hours to get back. Yeah. And she did it. And she actually joined later and said, oh my God, that's the most amazing emotional experience I've had. But that's a huge extreme. That's gone to a massive extreme. So, but in answer to your question, if I've answered your question, I don't really know. I don't really think I'm that good with emotional stuff. I either go too hard or I go too soft. Mm-hmm. I'm not really in the middle. Mm.
What are your future goals or aspirations for your martial arts organisation?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm 62 now. So 5, 6, 7 years time, probably won't be doing what I'm doing now, which is running around chasing my tail, doing everything 24/7, boom, 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 5 classes a week, or 5 venues a week, and then one-to-ones at the weekend. So all my time's taken up through teaching. How long is that going to be? I can't be doing that for another 7 years. My body isn't really going to take that, I don't think. So what I would like for a young, vibrant person who reminds me of me when I was his or her age to take it over. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I haven't even thought about it. And because of the way my brain works, I never approach anything until it's on me.
Yes.
Yes, you're probably identifying with that. I can't think things out. I have to experience it to think. I have to experience it. Did that work? No, it didn't. Oh, did that work? Yeah, it did. Actually, that was really good. Thinking about it and doing it are 2 different things. So I find that, I'm gonna. They'll have to. There's going to come a point, probably in the 20s. So by the time 2030 comes along, I probably won't be doing this. I'll be too old. And that's my perception. It's not other people's perception. It's my perception, because I'm very. Again, I overthink things. I think I mentioned before. I was speaking to a young lady who teaches kickboxing, and she got the wrong end because I was going, oh, my classes are sometimes a bit boring for you guys. She said, never ever think that your classes are boring, because they're not. No way are they boring. The only reason I don't come is because they're boring. No, again, the only reason I don't come is because she's doing fighter training for on the night that she can come to me. She's going fighter training, and for her at the moment that suits her thing. But she said, never ever forget just how important you are to people. I find that quite nice. It's when that person said to you the thing that you told me that they said to you earlier when we were having breakfast. That's nice too. I think it's nice when people pay you genuine compliments, not stuff that's rubbish.
Yeah.
But a genuine compliment, I think it's nice.
When you get compliments, when you receive compliments, how I'm thinking about me now and how uncomfortable I become when people pay me compliments. Is that something you experience as well?
Yes, I always change the subject. I never. It's always. I hate the fact that I said it before. I'm social gatherings. I don't like being the centre of attention. I hate it with a passion. So anyone throws a compliment at me, it's always deflected, as you just said. It's always deflected. Always. I can't be doing it. Yeah, but just the thought of it. I don't know. It's a bit like we were saying before, that weird thing about milk and butter. No. Milk, butter, compliment, no way. I can't touch it.
The three things that you can't handle.
Yeah, no.
Can you tell us about a student whose life has been positively impacted by their martial arts training at Integrity Martial Arts? Now, you mentioned a few already, but feel free to do it again with the same people. But anyone else maybe that has been affected?
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. There's a young girl. Well, I say young girl now. Crikey, no, she's getting late 20s now. She started with me when she was 9 years old, and she's just now starting to fulfill her role of being a competitive animal. But she's doing it in the full contact realm, in K1 and stuff like that, which we don't cater for. All right, and I think that's amazing that she's doing that. Even though it's not under my tutelage, the fact that she's still one of our instructors and she teaches for us 3-4 times a week, and she's still an integrity person. And I think that's amazing. The stuff that she's doing now, it makes me so proud. And you know, I'm terrible because I get very emotional with people. I can be, again, that's that Gemini. I can be very hard and I can be very soft. And not really anywhere in between. But I wouldn't ever dream of saying that to her because I would get too emotional. You know. It's a little bit now, even the thought of it is like that. So there's lots of people that you know. There's an older lady, incredible lady, who failed her black belt. I'll tell you a story. She failed her black belt, and she actually ran an embroidery business, and she used to embroider our belts for us. And she failed it. And I had to email her with the requirements of the belts of the people that passed. And how she reacted was just amazing. She said, "Yes, sir, I'll be there." And I said, "Right, okay, well, I don't expect you for coming." "No, I'll be there tomorrow." I said, "Are you sure?" Yeah, I'll be there. I think that's amazing. How people can get over a disappointment like that. Bless her. I think that's a fantastic achievement. So many people achieve. You know, that's nothing. She's never going to win any competition. She can't kick above her kneecaps. But boy, does she love taekwondo. She loves it. She's 3rd degree now. And I've said to her, I said, "Listen, Mom," and because unfortunately, she didn't pass her third degree. And I said, listen, I'm going to do this as a one-off, but I'm going to award you an honorary third degree. But, you know, this is for your dedication to our art, you know, under the proviso, and she knows that, you know, she's not going to progress anymore as terms of gradings go. But as we know, sir, I mean, taekwondo teaches us more than how to get a piece of paper with a 4th degree or 5th degree or 6th degree written on it. Gradings, you know, how important is it? It's not that important, is it? You know, if it was that important, I'd have been a 9th degree, you know, about 4 years ago. If it was that important, it's not important. People that go racing around chasing certificates, it drives me nuts.
Or even buying them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We give ours out, by the way. 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, they pay for them. 4th degree and above is free of charge. I don't charge anything, you know, because it's a loyalty thing. If people have stayed with me for that amount of time, then they deserve to be rewarded with loyalty. And I think a lot of the taekwondo groups could learn from that, maybe a little bit.
There's a lot they could learn.
Yeah.
Again, there's one of them.
Yeah. I mean, finances. We charge. I found out the other day how much some of the groups are charging. Oh my goodness. Ours is a fraction of that. And it's not because it's not valued. Of course, it's valued, and it's probably just as hard, if not harder. The standard's just as high, if not higher. And yeah, you don't have to pay through the nose for it. And that's the whole grading. It's not just a certificate. Crikey, with a certificate alone. Some groups are charging an absolute fortune for it. But that again comes down to money. And is it just about money?
A certificate, I mean, what's put into them is a bit of work involved, I suppose, but the amount of money they charge for a certificate that could potentially be done for, let's say, £50, £60. Yeah, they do ramp it up a bit.
Well, Open ITF certificates. I'm one of the founders of Open ITF, along with 3 other grandmasters. The maximum you would get charged for a certificate is 90 quid, and that's for a 9th degree. That's the certificate. £10 for 1st degree, 20, 30, boom, boom, boom. I'm sure that is the cheapest you can get an ITF certificate.
Even from Korea.
Yeah. I think ITF Union were cheap, but they've gone up a lot more now because they've realised that they can make a little bit of money. And we've said we would never ever do that. And we're true to our word. You know, we'd never do that. If people want to join us, great. If they don't, then they don't. You know, but we don't charge people to join. We don't charge people to plaques. We were talking about plaques earlier. We don't do any of that. If people want to join, they join. People don't, they don't.
So what other ways you can name the organisation again and then say how do they differ from the others that you know of, obviously.
In what respect?
The name of the group that you are a director of.
Oh right, yes.
How do they stand out? What makes them different from the others?
No politics. No politics. No. It's funny because I got because I do all the certification throughout the world. And we're not talking like ITF Vienna or any ITF Spain or anything like that. You know, they're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of students. We're not talking that at all. We're tiny and minuscule because people don't really know about us. But we processed, and it was down to me. It was my mistake. We processed a 5th degree. I think it was 5th degree or 6th degree, and it wasn't the correct timing between 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th, and it was my mistake. And I hate making mistakes, to a passion. I really hate making mistakes, and that's what the only thing we're strict on, and that's why a lot of people don't join us, because they have to prove that they've been 1st degree, 2nd degree, or whatever. I get these are the emails I get back. I send them, dear sir, ma'am, it would be great if you wanted to join Open ITF. We would need to see proof of your first degree, second degree, or whatever. And then, if you've got the correct timelines, it's not really relevant where the certification comes from. But if we can see that you started training when you say you started training, boom, boom, boom. I get emails, but half of them don't reply because they haven't got it. Some of them will reply, oh, it was lost in the flood. It was burnt in the fire.
Dog ate it.
Yeah, the dog. So it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But so we stick to it religiously, stick to those time frames. And unfortunately, a lot of some of the major groups do, but some of them don't. And I find that really irksome. I find that. Yeah.
It ruffles a few people's feathers. You see a lot on Facebook. How did that happen? They were due when I was due, or
it's exactly
or
right.
they shifted organisation and they were promoted because they shifted organisation.
Yes. I know we've gone off topic a little bit there, but
yeah. The next one's about self-protection. Later on, we'll probably delve into self-protection, the adrenal side of things. But how do you teach self-protection skills, and why are they important for people of all ages?
Are we going to talk about this on a separate thing?
We'll delve into the adrenal, but let's keep the self-defense as in what's taught in classes. I know it's going to irk you.
I don't teach it. And I'll tell you why I don't teach it, sir, because it doesn't work. A lot of the stuff that you see, and you see it on YouTube all the time, I refuse point blank to teach it. I'm not getting involved in that stuff. I'll get involved in, and this sounds really terrible, this sounds awful, and I don't mean it to sound horrible, but I'll get involved in using taekwondo in a violent way, but that's it. I'm not going to get involved with, if you grab that finger and you grab that wrist and you turn that and you do that, then your opponent will turn into a pumpkin. Do you know what I mean? That I don't want anything to do with that. And unfortunately, I put up a post on Facebook. I think I told you this on the telephone. I put up a post on Facebook and I deliberately recorded a knife, that classical, like that. And so a chukiyamaki, then a palm, then a grab here, and then you stab your opponent in the. I deliberately did it, set it, and then put a post to it. And normally, if I post something on Facebook and it's like a question, or what do you think about this, or what do you think about that, gets a decent amount of engagement. 70, 80 responses. Well, I think it should be like this, like that. I put on this, no one person responded to it. That was a guy that I used to teach who now lives in Thailand. He was the only person that responded, and he responded, "Well said, sir." And the message went something along the lines of, "Why on earth do people teach this stuff? Why are people teaching this? You're obviously selling your soul to the devil, because you're saying that they come and learn, come and do taekwondo, and you will learn how to defend yourself. If you're coming to do that, you're going to learn how to go to the funeral of your family very quickly." It should not, and there should be something that, it gets me really, really angry, because there should be something that is a trading standards. You shouldn't be allowed to call it that. You should not call it the art of self. It's what it used to be, and we spoke about it before. And bear in mind, sir, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about 90%. But that's a huge percentage. 10% of genuine taekwondo instructors who understand what happens to the human body when they're under stress, fair play. But the vast majority don't understand it. So I refuse to teach it. I know a lot of my instructors, they want me to teach it, but I don't have anything to do with it, unfortunately. So I teach self-protection in a very different way,
yeah.
But that's not... I'll teach it in the class a little bit, but it's not stylish. It's not stylistic. It doesn't look nice. It's not your stereotypical what you would expect in a martial art class. It's people scrapping. It's two guys having a fight. But that's what a fight is.
Yeah.
No, a fight isn't. What the hell is he going to do with this hand? This hand has been here for 10 seconds. You know, he could have pulled out a knife, stabbed the guy, you know. Why do people do that? Drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely nuts. I understand why they do it. It's because their instructor taught them to do it. Their instructor taught them to do that. Their instructor But we go back, I think we talk about the THB in the olden days. I remember watching Grandmaster Oliver do a self-defense demo in the 80s. That was much more the way that it should be, because it was brutal. Now it's not brutal. The brutality is gone. Brutality has disappeared. And you cannot teach effective self-defense without brutality. Don't care what anybody says. You can't do it. You can't be fluffy, can't be nice, can't be lovely. You have to do it. You have to do it realistically. If you're going to do it at all, you have to do it realistically. Now, there was a point where I said to the guys in Puma, yeah, I've lost the train of thought now.
The original question was why is it important for all ages, or is it important for all ages to learn self-defense, I guess?
Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it's important, but providing it's taught in the correct way. Mm-hmm. I saw a Facebook post yesterday from a guy who did one thing really, really well. And he's a master, in fact, he's an 8th degree. He's just recently been promoted with an 8th degree. And he did one thing that was very, very good, that a lot of people wouldn't think about. And it was against a knife. But the other stuff he did wasn't. It was the same. I'm going, right, okay, I like the one thing that you did. And he was talking about, right, I don't want any trouble. And then right, you have to turn your hands that way. Brilliant. Because education, a lot of people wouldn't think, here, okay, here, the number one thing they teach you in self-protection, here, is never go like this. Always cover up, because obviously, and you know it, that's where you're going to get cut. You're going to get cut here, that's fine, you get cut here, fine. Lee Morrison, who I was talking to you about before, he never goes anywhere. He carries, he's got like a, if I've got Lee's thing here, I haven't got it. He wears like a, what do they call it, an elastic band.
All right.
And the reason he carries an elastic band is he can attach a weapon to it. He carries it everywhere. He's perfectly legal. It's not but it's like a screwdriver, you know, that he can attach here, because he knows that under adrenal stress he won't be able to access that. He'll be too scared it'll come out of his hand. When he attaches it here, it's part of him. He won't lose it under that pressure that everyone gets put under. You know, it falls out of your hand and you're shoveling around on the floor to find it.
Looking for your keys in your hand.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
The pepper spray.
Yeah. So they that's all they do. All they do. Now, obviously, I was talking to you before. One of the guys that I train with, or I teach rather, he's one of Lee's instructors. Fantastic instructor, amazing. And I told him about that post, and he said, "You know why people haven't replied? Because they know it's true. Because they know it's true, and they won't say anything, because there's nothing they can say. There's no defense. There's no defense for them."
Surprised the the trolls never came out and started agreeing with it, because they seem to attack everything else that's been put out there. You think they would agree with that one?
It's just, I find it shocking. I literally find it shocking. To the point, and again, my instructors want me to do it, but I really don't want to, because I don't see the point of teaching something that isn't real. I was talking about Puma, and we did it because I wanted to make it real there, and we did it in black belt gradings where they had to put you in a rear naked choke, and you had to, and it wasn't a pretend one. It wasn't, oh hello Ian, I'm going to put you in a rear naked choke now. It was like that. Okay, now you could obviously make that realistic by putting yourself in a dark room. You know, it wasn't dark, it was lit. You could have all sorts of music on. It wasn't, it was quiet. But even then, people were being thrown over their shoulder, and one broke his collarbone. And understandably so, the Puma guy said, no, we can't have that anymore. And I understand that. But that's the reality. That's you can't play with this stuff. It's not something to be played with. And we were having this discussion about taekwondo earlier. If you're going to punch, you're going to punch. You can't play with it. You know, anyone that is punching, and this is horrible now, and people are going to shoot me down in flames. But taekwondo people can't punch. Horrible, isn't it?
Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Compared to a boxer.
Yeah.
You compare that to a boxer who has to punch under pressure from all angles. Yeah, a taekwondo person, the average taekwondo person cannot punch. Sorry.
No.
The average kickboxer cannot kick, because the average taekwondo person is a much better exponent of kicking. The average taekwondo person, they've got a Scooby-Doo. You know, they've never hit anything in their life. They've never hit anything, their hands like that. You know, they don't know how to make a fist. They can't. Now, you talk to First Grandmaster Ree, tell him that, he would shoot you.
You said it's going to shoot you.
Yeah. But you know, the pioneers of taekwondo, and this is where I come from. I don't know, I come from the pioneers, but that education has been lost. That's been watered down so much now that now the average person that gets a black belt in taekwondo, they're probably 8 years old or something crazy, but they can't punch.
Yeah, and they haven't got the strength to do press-ups on the knuckles. I'm talking about adults, obviously, but they're not going to last. If they hit something, their fists are just not going to last.
No.
Even when they block something,
yes.
Their arms are not going to last,
yes.
or whatever they block with.
Yes. It is, yeah. Again, I better not say much more, because I'll get myself told off, but I'll get myself banned. But I think taekwondo should be. It's an amazing martial art. I love taekwondo. I'll do it to the day I die. But if you're doing it just for self-defense, I think you're in for a shock. Unless you have one of those fantastic instructors who will teach you genuine taekwondo. But I think those people are very few and far between.
Maybe the audience, the students themselves, are the ones that could probably handle that kind of training, are few and far between.
It's interesting. I think I told you this on the telephone. I was in Manchester before Christmas, and I had a group of students, because I've got a good relationship with the guy up at the uni there. And he invited me to do like a 2-hour and a 2-hour taekwondo session, but focusing on self-protection. And first thing I said, right, listen, there are people there from CHB, there are people there from ITF, there are people there from WT, people there from all over, all over the UK, and all different styles. I said, the problem is, and I'm going to say it straight, and I could F and blind there because it was students. I said, it's all about this. So I said, it's all about this.
Money.
And then I introduced them to a few little concepts, nothing to do with technique, It's not about technique. If you, as soon as you introduce a technique, your brain has to process that technique. And if you're under adrenal stress, you can't process it. You can't even think of your name, let alone what the hell the technique is. It doesn't work. Anything that is a fine motor skill, forget it. It doesn't work. So I was introducing, and they've gone, oh, this is amazing. Can you teach our instructors? I think, well, there's the problem. If you go back to your instructors and say, oh, I met this guy at the weekend and he'd love to come, they wouldn't entertain it. They wouldn't entertain it, unfortunately, because they've been indoctrinated. It's kind of saying to them that what they're teaching isn't good.
What you spent the last X number of years doing is maybe not as effective as it could be.
Yes.
What do you think is the most valuable lesson that martial arts can teach us about life?
Never give up. Always, no matter what happens to you. And I think it's quite ironic with my condition, with my stenosis. They gave me that 6 years ago, and I remember coming away. I was 56, still moving quite well and what have you, and relatively fit. I came out of the consultant's room and I thought, that's it, my life's over. And was obviously very emotional with that. And I struggled with that for the first 6 months, thinking, oh my God, what the hell, am I going to do? They gave me an epidural, which masked the pain for a while. But then they did tell me it would come back, and of course it has, and so I haven't had an epidural ever since. But I think, in answer to your question, it's no matter what people tell you, there's always a way to get around things. There's always, as long as you've got it up here, you've got the mindset, you've got that you'll never be beaten. You might have to sit down and rest. You might have to, you might have to, take a breather and take 10 minutes, but you'll get the job done. That's what I would say people need to take away, that they should never ever give up on life, or whatever their goal is, they should stick to it. And that's a good thing about martial arts, in my opinion.
It trains your mindset.
Yes.
Perseverance and taekwondo.
Yes.
How do you ensure that integrity martial arts remains inclusive and welcoming to students from all backgrounds and abilities?
I think it's just a byproduct of being a good human being. There's nobody, I've never turned anybody away. I've never felt the need to turn anybody away. Providing people follow the rules, and they I tell a lie, there was one person I turned away. That's the story. I'm inclusive of everybody. And obviously in today's society there are lots of people that you need to be inclusive for, and they're more and more prevalent, particularly in a university town. There's lots and lots of people in Manchester. When I go to Manchester, it's very relevant. There was a gentleman taking his first degree 6 years ago, I think, and I addressed him in the wrong way, and his instructor said, so you need to say that this person is this. Oh, okay, all right, okay, that's fine. No, well, who says? You have to.
Preference.
It is a difference. I remember having a conversation with Master Hutton about this, actually, and he's got a very different view. He's got a very different view. He's got a very different view in that you're either this or you're that.
The importance of community and support within integrity martial arts.
That's a different one. Community. Yeah, I struggle with I'm not very good with that. If I'm honest, I'm not very good with it. Obviously we're there. I mean, we don't do maybe some of the things that we used to do back in the days. We used to do fates, and we used to do, this and demos and what have you. Because of my social anxiety, I don't want to talk to people. so I tend not to. I did one a couple of years ago. Found it to be a complete and utter waste of time, personally. But we're always there if people want us to do that type of stuff. We'd always go into schools. We've been into schools and done self-defense for them. We've done or self-protection, but it's more their body language and their assertive skills training. And we actually called it that. It was a cool little thing. Called it BLAST, body language and assertive skills training. It's a very good little thing. Nothing to do with technique. It was just the way they hold themselves and what have you. So all that sort of stuff. But yeah, to be honest, I don't really mix that much with my community. So I'm a bit of a hermit. So yeah,
the community comes to you.
Yes, essentially.
So this is the last question in this section. There are 3,000 questions to go. What message would you like to share with young aspiring martial artists?
Get involved. Get to your local martial art class. Doesn't matter what it is, and just soak it all up. Do what I did. Now nobody's going to do what I did, now, because there's so many things that kids will entertain their child's mind. They'll be on their phones or on their games or whatever, on their tablets, on their PlayStation. But get them to go and listen, soak it in. They're not going to know whether they've got a good martial art instructor. That's a lot of the problem. They're going to go, a lot of the franchises that are out there now, I'm not going to name names, but the franchises that are out there, they're selling, again, it's that, and when people get a black belt with those franchises after a ridiculously short amount of time, and then they move, then they go to a proper martial art club, but a higher standard, then they suddenly realise, oh my God, what the hell have I been doing for like 3 years? And their stuff, because they've been indoctrinated into that method of training. But even that would be better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But I would say if you get involved as much as you can.
Go and try one, try another.
Yeah. I know grappling's very, very common. One of my instructors now started grappling, and he's like he's happy as a sandboy. He's really, really involved. He likes the idea of that. A lot of people they just like to strike, but he doesn't. He wants to grapple. So obviously the prevalence of MMA these days is huge. But it's not for everybody. Where I think a lot of the unis these days, I would be surprised if their top clubs weren't MMA based. I would have thought they'd be more MMA rather than the karates and the taekwondos and the judos and jiu-jitsus. I would think they'd be all MMA, I would have thought. And you'd have thought by now there would have been a shelf life with MMA, but it doesn't seem to be.
So this is the 6 M's of Wandering Warrior. Motivation. I mean, I've got a few things in there, turning setbacks into stepping stones even. And how have you stayed motivated despite ups and downs? But motivation in general, what can you say?
Yeah, I think motivation comes from your peers, doesn't it? It comes from, if you go into the class and you're a student, if you're an instructor, and let's see, there's a lot of them are out there that are on their phones or, if you do that, yes, there's no motivation, there's nothing, they're not invested in that person at all, they're just invested in money. Hang on a minute, I'm just watching, it's terrible. So, from that point of view, the motivation needs to come from the instructor or the teacher. From yourself, you need to be motivated yourself. I know I go out there and train hard. When I was last grading, I trained really, really hard for it because you have to, and obviously I've got limitations because of my kicking, because of my back. but I can still, that's no excuse for not being able to punch or not being able to elbow or what have you. So I think that motivation is really strong, and that needs to be in everybody. And a lot of people forget that. A lot of people, instructors tend to forget. I used to, when I was training, I was always living here. I lived here, and I used to go every Friday to Bristol and train, and every Sunday to Bath and train.
Wow.
I did that year after year after year after year after year after year after year, because that's motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what else is it for? You know, that's before petrol was like £5,000 a gallon.
There is that, yeah.
But you know, nowadays it probably wouldn't be feasible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was motivated to do it because I wanted to be better. I wanted to be a better version of myself. Wasn't interested in beating other people. Just wanted to be better for myself. That's, you know, just make me a better person. It might be a bit selfish, so some people may say, but yeah.
You've got to look after yourself.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So that's always been my motivation to make sure that I'm the best I can be. Sometimes I drive home from the class and think, oh my God, that was awful.
You didn't like the class.
Oh, that was dreadful. Why on earth did I do that? Oh my God, why do people come? And then one time I think, oh, that was brilliant, and people will go, sir, I actually hurt I didn't like that. And I think, oh, okay, all right, lovely.
But you enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. So yeah. I just think you just got to. I think you have to go along. One of my instructors he's older than me, 64, 65. How on earth he carries on? But he comes along, trains, he teaches. His motivation's there. He's really clear. So that's good. So I suppose we must be doing something right. Yeah.
There was somebody I met last week, 85. Well, we think he's 85. Apparently he changes his age every time he comes in. But it's in the 80s, and he's still training away. Isn't it? Mindset's the next one. Mindset. Game-changing strategies to conquer fear and cultivate unshakable mental resilience. That's a heck of a sentence, but mindset itself.
Yeah, I think mindset is really important. I touched on it earlier. If you're given a task to do, have you done the? And my students hate me for it. The up down Sally challenge.
Oh, the press ups.
Yeah, well, you know press ups. I mean, we did it with squats. It was squats last night. And squats is an easier one.
Or sit ups.
Yeah, you do it sit ups. Sit ups quite awkward because everyone's coming up and going down and thinking you're right. But squats is very easy because it's literally when you go down, when you go up, when you go down, when you go up. Okay, but it's that mindset of once you're given something to do, but you need the motivation to get to the class in order to have the mindset. Or is the mindset first before you get the motivation? It's kind of, they're linked, aren't they?
It's almost
they're kind of linked. But my mindset is always to give it 100%, no matter what it is. And so if I'm given a job to do, I like to do it. I hate making mistakes. Can't stand making mistakes. I get really grumpy if I make a mistake. You know, and obviously that mindset comes out a lot in self-protection. Massive thing. It's the number one thing. If you haven't got a mindset, you're stuffed. You know, you've got to think, you're not getting past me. If you want to get past me, you've got to work really, really hard, because I'm going to lay down my life. And if I kill you, if you kill me, so be it. Okay? Whereas, I might, no. Strong. And again, it comes back from that. That's why we've lost it. Modern martial art training doesn't really have that mindset. I don't believe. There's some martial arts that have it more than others, but I think it's getting lost. And we need to bring it back.
Do you think it's because, I can use catering or pandering? Is it because instructors cater or pander to their audience? Or is it because it's easier for the instructor.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. As an example, we have Iba Matsuki. We have one step sparring, right? And our syllabus, I don't know what you do, sir, but our syllabus at fourth cup, they have to do a set syllabus. So they'll do inner forearm, middle block, reverse punch. Let's say, and they do it on the left side, they do it on the right side. Mm-hmm. Then number two might do Chukyamaki, Sukyamchi, you know, whatever it is. And then when they get to third cup, they have to do the same blocks, but then they have to make their own counter up. Now, a lot of my students struggle like hell because I'm providing their mindset for them. Mm-hmm. And now they have to think about it. Oh, it's different. I'm not sure if I can do that. Mm-hmm. Well, your mindset needs to have that work, you know. It needs to be worked on. You know, I know that's a very obvious kind of statement to make, but you know, and then when you get to black belt, you've got to be able to do any block, any counter. And if you've got that, oh, it's going to hurt my arm. Oh my god, you know, that's poor. It's poor mindset. Mm-hmm. So you've got to go with that warrior attitude. It's nicking your name, but it is, isn't it? You know, you need to have the correct mindset. A soldier is nothing without a mindset.
Mm. And a top athlete.
Yeah. You look at what was his name? I was talking to somebody the other day. I forgot what his name. Sprinter. No. Oh my god. We used to go like that. What's his name?
Was Mo Farah?
No, it was Usain Bolt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Usain Bolt. Yeah. And he used to say that his mindset would be, I would run. What his routine would he would run through his 100 meters while he was having, you know, he has his earphones on and he was eating his breakfast and he'd run through it, or he was sleeping, or he used to nap, didn't he? He used to be like asleep about 20 minutes before the Olympic final. He'd be asleep. Oh, bless him. But he would visualize it, and then he'd get there and he'd be like chilled. He was like the most chilled man in the world. And he'd get there and then he'd put his spikes on and get all that, and then he'd get there, but then that was it. Once he was down, nobody was going to beat him. I think Ali was the same. You know, they had those. The
best, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He kept programming himself.
Yeah, and nobody's going to beat me. Obviously, he got let down sometimes by his mindset, but you know, it's still the number one thing. And people do. You know, it happens a lot in self-protection. You know, and you're still going to end up hurt. But if you didn't have a mindset, crikey, you think exactly what would happen to you. Yeah, so I think it's very important.
The next one would be martial arts, but we've been talking about martial arts all through, so it's kind of redundant, really. But if you had to teach martial arts using only non-traditional methods, so no punching, kicking or grappling, what innovative techniques would you incorporate to still impart valuable skills to your students? So take out the punching, the kicking, grappling, whatever.
That's an interesting question. Quite, you put me on the spot there. You could think about. Oh my God, that's a difficult question. Crikey. I have to think about that. I have to think about that a little bit longer, I'm afraid. So.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't worry.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Mindfulness is the next one, so slightly easier, I guess.
I don't. It's not. I don't believe in it, but I'm not a big. You know, it's very key thing these days, isn't it? It's a very hip thing to be. Oh, let's go for a mindfulness weekend. Let's go for a retreat. Let's sit on a mat for like 2 hours and just look at the. I'd get bored. I'd get really bored. We went. A friend of mine, the gentleman that runs the Jersey thing. He's worked with Wim Hof, and he's done all that stuff, and he's literally personally trained with him. No, he hasn't just done it online. He's literally spent a whole week with him, and he came back, and Matt said, we had a weekend retreat somewhere. Integrity and Samurai Kickboxing had a weekend away, and Matt said, "Oh right, I'd like to do some of Wim Hof stuff." Okay, and we were right next to a river, which was freezing cold, and so we did some of that. And they said, tomorrow can I do the sleep therapy? Okay, right, whatever. And it was like half an hour. I was bored to tears. Everybody was bored. You had to bring a mattress. You had to bring a duvet and a pillow. And sleep. And he's talking to us and I'm sleeping. And I'm thinking, I don't understand what's going on here. I, if I'm honest, and I'm not belittling it, but I don't really get it. I don't get that type of stuff. I'm a bit of a man's man. I like to hit things and kick things and elbow things and not think about why I'm kicking it and why I'm not kicking it and stuff. So that passes me by, I'm afraid. I'm not a bright bunny on that kind of front.
So it comes in different forms, I guess. You mentioned the hills and getting outside into the fresh air and letting nature take its effect on you can be mindful, I guess.
Yeah, it can. I mean, from me wanting to get away from it all is nothing to do with the nature. It's just I don't like people. I'm not a big fan of people. I'm a big fan of dogs. Dogs will never ever let you down, but people will let you down every 5 minutes. So that's what I meant about getting away. It's not because I want to sit out in the garden in my Zen yoga position, and not to belittle that position. I just like peace, and quiet. I just like it. Although I used to, when I used to walk the dog, I used to walk around here. It was like a beautiful place, and that was my thinking time. I must admit, I did like that thing because I would think about things. Whereas normally I'm just running around like a headless chicken, trying to get this done, boxing ring bits done, that done, this done, classes here, a class there. I don't have time to think. So which is So for all I think I would get bored if I went to a yoga retreat. Then I'm afraid
meditation is on the similar vein. It's not the same, but meditation, channel focus, enhanced performance, and stuff like that. But we'll probably get the same sort of...
Yeah. I went with my ex-wife once. And I don't know if it was meditation or yoga or it was something. And she said, "Matt, we really need to go." Okay, right, yeah. I went and it was in our village hall and went along and it was supposed to be an hour of peace and talking. Oh, sorry, peace and finding yourself. Okay. So I thought, okay, right, that's fine. Right, okay, I'll do whatever I'm told. So we sat down on our mats, and then this woman was just talking all the time about what I should be thinking. And I'm going, right, well, you've told me to empty my mind, but you keep talking to me. So, maybe that was a bad experience and it was a bad example. But I get bored very easily. So anything that makes me think about what I'm thinking and then acting on what I'm thinking, for me, it doesn't, and that isn't to belittle it at all, because I know a lot of people are very turned on by it, as it were, but not for me. No. Sorry.
This one's definitely going to be a topic. We're talking mental health. Mental health. Do you have any revolutionary strategies for improving mental well-being? We've kind of touched on this already, well-being, but mental health in general.
Right. I think this is quite tough, because I say I don't suffer with it, but I think I do. You know, I'll watch something. I get very not in tune because somebody on the TV, but somebody will talk about something they've gone through, and I find that incredibly emotional. I find that, oh my God, and I'm kind of, you know, I'm starting to get very, never met that person, never ever, but it makes me think, actually that's me. God, they've just described me. Bloody hell, that's me. So mental health is quite tough. I've had to deal with I'm always quite good at, well, I think I'm quite good at dealing with people when they're struggling, but not myself. I'm not very good myself.
You said earlier as well, it was looking after other folk.
Yeah, I'm much better at looking after people, but yeah, I didn't say that word. But I'm not very good at looking after myself at all. Again, that lady that rang me before, I know it's the same story, but she was raped, and her mental health and her physical health was not great. It was mental health, and I just wanted to help her. I just wanted to help. In fact, we got into, with that lady, we were really, really close to starting a charity for exactly that purpose, to help people who were victims of domestic abuse and stuff like that. And we got 70-80% of the way through to getting charity status, until she ran off with all the money.
Oh no.
Yeah, which is great. Well, that wasn't great. But yeah. So all that sort of stuff. I don't. Again, I think sometimes is it me? Well, I can't quite put my finger on it. But I like to help people. There's plenty of examples. There was a lad that he came to the class. He was kickboxing. He came to the class, and you could tell there was something not right. I said, "Sir, come with me. Let's have a little chat." Okay, took him outside, and he burst into tears. I said, "Sir, come on. Right, let's have a talk about it. Let's have a talk. Come on. Let's have a talk. Just you and me. Don't care about the class. Someone else that's gone off. So someone else." And we were talking, and we talked for half an hour. And gave him a hug at the end and said, "It's okay. You know, we've all been there. I've been there with my daughter. He was going through a tough time with his little girl." I said, "You know, it's not going to be forever. You know, there's nothing I can do with what's going on in your head. But all you need to know is I'm here for you. I'm sure your family are there for you. I'm sure your friends are there for you. You know, but I've never had to deal with that. You know, I'm not a trained psychiatrist. I'm not a trained person in that field. But it's just a little bit of human empathy is nice."
It's talking about what adrenal stress self-defense is. So, okay. I mean, there are questions, but do you want to describe what it is? How does it differ from self-defense that other instructors might offer? What is adrenal self-defense?
Okay. Adrenal stress self-defense is, if you are, have you ever had a car accident?
Been in a couple of scrapes.
Okay, a serious one? Right, okay. Have you ever had anything traumatic happen to you?
Yes.
Right, do you mind? You weren't in the military?
No, not in the military, no.
Okay,
no.
Do you mind talking about your...
No, I was attacked.
Okay, alright. And what was the first thing that happened to you?
First
Can
thing
you remember?
Yeah, I think I was overconfident.
Right.
Thinking that my training was going to be sufficient, and there was, in my mind, the belief that he wasn't going to really attack me or do any serious damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Okay. I mean, we don't need to go in any further than that. Adrenal stress training means to someone who's already had that. So that attack you had is in your brain, isn't it? Now, very, very big part of your brain. When will it come out the most? When do you think it would come out? When do you think it would be triggered?
I don't put myself in situations that it will trigger, but it will trigger if I am mistreated or challenged,
Mm-hmm.
because now the mistake I made will not happen again.
Right. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. And that's good. That's good to hear. It's good to hear that that mistake will not happen again. If I can just kind of answer what it is by what happened and how I came across it, if that's okay. In 2002, I went to America to learn adrenal stress training from a guy called Bill Kipp. And Bill Kipp was a ex-Special Forces Marine. Nothing to do with adrenal stress training at all. All right. The reason he joined the Marine Corps was he was bullied by his older brother from the age of 2 to 16. 14 years of verbal and not sexual, but verbal and physical intimidation and bullying for 14 years. And Bill thought, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of it. So I'm going to get rid of it. And the only way I'm going to get rid of it is by joining the Marine Corps. Joined the Marine Corps, didn't do anything. Didn't do anything for him. Learned how to shoot a gun, learned how to fight and kill people. But as soon as anything stressful happened, all he could hear in his head was his brother. Boom, 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 boom. That's the number one thing he heard, because it was just ingrained in him. So he went and did a primitive version of what we do today, which is called adrenal stress training. And part of the adrenal stress training means that you have a coach. We call it a coach. In these days we call it a guardian angel, but in those days we called it a coach. And the coach would stand next to you. And this person here would be we'd call it an interviewer. So, if I'm a predator, I need to interview you. You know there's nothing physical going to happen, but I'm going to say, right, I want to try and distract you. So I get you to think about different things. So I might be talking normally, I might be raising my voice, I might be getting very, very loud, very, very aggressive. If you're getting very, very aggressive, your brain will start to slowly shut down. If it shuts down straight away, and it happens all the time, you see about it, people get in the rabbit in headlights. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens all the time. And that's why I wasn't sure if it's what happened to you. May well have been. All right, but it's making them think outside. So we're reprogramming the part of their brain that is stimulated under that stress. And the reason I asked about a car crash is this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Car crash, your life flash. Everyone says it's my life flashed before me. That's because your brain has stopped working. Doesn't work in the way that it normally works. All right, all you're left with is the primitive, small part of your brain, which is called the amygdala. And the amygdala is where all your emotional responses are stored. That's where it's in your head now, thinking, if that happens to me again, I'm going to rip that guy's bollocks off and tie them to a tree. Yeah, okay, but it didn't happen first. It didn't happen when it happened to you. Right. And that's great, because you've got that mindset, but most people don't have that mindset. So we teach them to be responsive under that high pressure situation. So most of the students that come to our courses won't go out of that course with bigger muscles and bigger, abilities to punch and kick people. That's not what they come out of. They come out of, we put them under that pressure and under a very real life scenario, sometimes with knives, sometimes with just verbal, sometimes with multiple attackers, sometimes ground attacking. And they go out thinking, oh my God, this is incredible. To the point of when we do these courses, a lot of the students, you'll get it at some point where someone's being aggressive towards you. Boom, 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 boom. You've got the coach behind you, and there'll be somebody stood right here,
just to the side and rear,
and you won't even see them. Literally, and everyone's going, "Wow, now you're talking rubbish." I was going to say the B word then. But you're talking rubbish. Happens all the time. Because your tunnel vision, here, you got auditory exclusion, you can't hear anything else. All you can see is this person here. All right, and that's how predators work. That's how they work. They work in 2s, 3s. You get sucked into this, and then before you know it, you're a statistic on the 6 o'clock news. All right, and that's what adrenal stress training does. So it puts you in that real life scenario safely, right? And that's what taekwondo training doesn't do.
No.
It's what martial art training doesn't do. Doesn't do that.
Not even in the sparring.
No. You're stressed in sparring. You're nervous in sparring. Okay, but you got chariot, kinye, taekwondo, ready? Sisha, if you go.
Gloves on.
Yeah, you got gloves on. You got a referee. Referee's going to say, right, you ready? You ready? Chong Hong, you ready? Boom, boom, away you go. Off you go. Fights don't happen like that.
Thank you to Master Jones for allowing me to interview him for this podcast. It went on for some time and we've had to cut it up into smaller pieces. But looking forward to part 2. Thank you for listening to the Wandering Warrior podcast.